Good morning, everyone. My name's Stephen. This is my colleagues Jacob, Naomi, and Isabel, and we're the grad team. And today we're presenting to you our solution to the first problem of the Nudgeathon of 2018. So we're presenting to you some new method of a redesign of the service to handle switching, in particular for young consumers. So we targeted 3 objectives, and that's engagement, accessibility, and simplicity. So our recommendation is Matcher, which is a unique user experience and interactive interface for consumers to facilitate switching credit cards, in particular for young consumers. And the key outcomes of Matcher are that we're reducing barriers and reducing high attrition rates prevalent in the industry for comparison services and improving the competitive landscape for financial products. Additionally, growth in switching rates will also improve financial well-being economy-wide. So our target audience is young consumers aged between 20 to 35 who have typical average incomes and who have typical human behaviors. And what I mean by this is that they have structural issues to their behavioral issues, and they're not fully rational and all have biases. So for example, 44% of people surveyed believe that they already had the best deal for these credit cards. Some quotes here from some market studies is financial literacy is severely lacking in young adults. And this second stat might be a bit shocking to a room full of economists, is that 27% of the study group didn't know about inflation or risk diversification. So we're targeting these issues as high attrition rates in the uses of comparison services, information and choice overload using traditional comparison services, and that comparison services are not tailored and targeted to young audiences. So we're recommending an engaging interface for comparison services and giving simple recommendations to make the switching easy. The rationale for this is that interactive application interface reduces attrition rates because people are engaged when they're using the service. You're not seeing lots of charts and trying to compare 27 pages of products. And the consumer data right allows comparison services to use your previous behavior and financial data to provide you a perfect match. And now I'll hand it over to Jacob.
Yeah, so our strategy to achieve this is by creating a simple option such that we're redesigning the interface for users so that you swipe on your preferred services you would like. The consumer data right allows this comparison as the consumer's data can be used to characterize each individual. And the interactive swiping feature we thought would be appropriate for our young audience. So yeah, we've got an example of this app that we've developed. Here with this on an iPhone 36. And this is Matcher.
Okay, so let's walk through Matcher. Okay. So the first screen, our users will be prompted with a question. Are you ready to find your match? The first thing they'll be asked to do is they'll be asked to swipe left or right on what features are most important to them. So this will probably be a common experience for most people here. Then so once we've ascertained what their preferences are, they'll be asked to consent to giving their data. At the top, there'll be a little ACCC accredited logo to make sure that consumers are aware that this is a trusted site, they've been accredited, and they've got the necessary security and transfer standards. Wait, I think we've missed a slide. Oh, okay. There was an analyzing data slide as well. They will then be presented with a single option. It's their best option. They will also be they'll also be told what they could be doing with that money. For example, based on your expenditure, you could buy 10 extra serves of avocado on toast. They'll be asked if they want to sign up to A or to see how they're saving. If you click see how you're saving, it'll bring up a comparison of your existing plan and the best option. If you still want to have more information, you can see more comparisons. And then you'll be able to swipe left or right on more options that are comparing your current and another option for you. Yep. So our interface overcomes several biases. For example, choice overload. By presenting them with a single option, the best option, we help reduce the amount of information that they have to process. We've taken advantage of their default bias by replacing their current offer as the default with their best offer. You'll note that on the first page, when they're given their perfect match, they're not even given the option of seeing what their current offer is. We've reduced hassle factor by using an interface that young users are familiar with, such as the swiping, and we've mitigated present bias by showing them what they could be using the money for in the future.
I'm just going to run through a few implementation risks and financial features. So we're aiming to launch at the same time as the Consumer Data Act comes out, which is projected for June 19. So we're going to be testing and trialling the app in the lead up to this. And then after we have the initial launch, we want to bring out another version with more accessibility features for people with vision impairment, for example. And then we want to bring out another app in different languages as well to make sure we're really covering the whole market. And then after that, we'll just be doing maintenance and upgrades. Major risk we see is just if there's a big change in consumer habits and maybe people don't have iPhones and swipe anymore. We think this is unlikely, but it would be a severe risk, so that's really our biggest factor. In terms of cost, we project it would cost about $200,000 to develop the app. These comparison service interfaces already exist, it's just sort of a change in the way the interface works. And we're looking at kind of a traditional business model comparison sites, probably commission-based. If a consumer signs up to a model, then the bank is giving us commission. So in conclusion, Matcha is a unique interface that targets young people. We want it to be easy and fun to keep young people engaged. We know that they have low financial literacy at present, so we're really trying to break through by making this fun, easy and simple, giving them one option and they can just sign up to reduce the attrition rates. And yeah, happy to take any questions.
So I know you limited yourself at the beginning to talking about young people, but another marginalized group in the community would be pensioners or older people who, may very well be paying too much on various different products, and they are not digitally literate to the extent that young people are. Given that you think it's such a risk that people won't use smartphones, what can you offer for those other marginalized groups that don't have as much facility with that?
Well, we actually started, and we wanted to target elderly people, but we found it was quite hard because of digital literacy, so we switched. But if we're honest,
optimal switching.
But this sort of targeted app could target different groups, and maybe if it's elderly, it's very visually focused and bigger text and things like that. So it's an option, but we found it was quite hard because this is kind of a digital focused thing to target people who don't have digital literacy.
In addition to that, I believe that the switching features are quite intuitive and quite engaging and quite fun. So if you're using a smartphone or large tablet-like device, if it asks you, do you care about Qantas frequent flyer miles, for example, that's just one big text box, which I think people with low vision skills or people are not too familiar with technology can easily read and understand and process. And swiping left or right is not too much of a change for them. So I believe that this sort of feature would be applicable to many target audiences, but we focus on young consumers due to statistics that they were low in financial literacy, and these other issues will carry on throughout their lives.
With your comparison service, how do you get industry to engage and not to game it to that extent, right? You make it a bit simpler to make certain decisions, but that would lead industry maybe to react by having products that work well with your swiping?
Yeah. So the thing is the consumer data right is, for example, it analyzes your data in the past, I don't know, whatever prime minister was in that period. What you have is backwards looking data. And what consumers want now is they're providing forward-looking information by selecting or giving an indication of what sort of features they would like in their financial products, energy bills, or telecommunications services. So this way that it analyzes your past data, which is your previous behavior, which is factually true, and it takes into account your future intentions. And this allows the matching algorithms and uses of comparison services to actually target and tailor a bespoke service for you and find your perfect match.
Thanks, guys.